Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Today I am going to be doing field trials with my Thor III load pack. It was never designed as a load pack, however, I'm going to try using it as such. I did some modifications, I've already posted a video about that, and I'm going to try a variety of different types of loads. And I've got myself a little obstacle course set up just to see how well the pack performs with different types of loads. I'm primarily going to be working out of my Jeep today, simply because the amount of weight of all the different items that I am going to be field trialing today with the Thor III. And as opposed to, shuttling back and forth from what is normally my camp, I'm just simply going to work out of my Jeep. I want to show you most of the items that I'm going to be trying out with the Thor III. The only thing I don't have in the back of my Jeep is firewood, which I'm going to cut later. I'm going to show you the items I'm going to be packing, and I'm also going to tell you the weights of those items as I go along. First of all, I have the Thor III. The Thor III is packed with all the essentials I normally carry on my Bushcraft patrol rig and a couple of other items. In here I have my spare batteries for my camera equipment, and I also have the rectangular I.E.D cook set here on the very bottom. The total weight of this pack with all the items in it is 20 pounds. I have a cache box. This is a 40mm grenade ammo can. Normally it weighs about 7 pounds. With all the items I have in here, which are non-edible items that I would be considered essential to be able to have for resupply, extra insulation, tarps, things like that. The weight of this is 27 pounds. These two small ammo cans are 30 caliber ammo cans. They're the smaller of the ammo cans. They are filled with .308 Winchester ammunition. The combined weight of those two items is 32 pounds. I have my camera case here, and I'll be carrying my camera with me, so the camera's not going to be in it. But with the combined weight of the camera, which is normally going to be in it, and the box, is 15 pounds. And that's with, a whole bunch of accessories in there as well. The box itself is fairly heavy. The box is almost 6 pounds all on its own. Here I have two dry bags, and I'll tell you a little bit more about these dry bags here in a few minutes when I load them up. This is a complete camp for me. It has my shelter, sleep system, everything's divided up between these two dry bags that I'm going to be putting in here. The combined weight of these items are 17 pounds. Before I start loading up my cargo into this pack, I want you to see how it fits with nothing in it other than my essentials. And my Bushcraft patrol rig, when it's got everything in it, is 20 pounds. That sounds like a lot of weight. However, the way it's distributed and the way it's carried on my body is very, very efficient. It distributes the weight very well. I can barely tell that I'm carrying any weight whatsoever, even though when I weighed it this morning, it was 20 pounds. 20 pounds. I weighed everything before I left the house this morning. This feels fantastic. So for a day pack, this is going to function very well. Let's go ahead and try out our first load, which is going to be my cache box that has all the non-edible items that I'm going to be caching at my secret fun spot. Let's go ahead and try out the cache box with the load pack. Go ahead and open this up. I want this to be fairly secure, so I'm going to be using my extension straps I made for the interior back panel. which will be right here. going to open those all the way up. And one of my extension straps. Put another one in. Now I'm going to go ahead and position my load right toward the very bottom. Let's go ahead and put it on. This is quite heavy. We'll see if this pack can deal with it. Okay. Breast strap. Now this wobbles. It wobbles quite a bit. This is definitely nothing that I would want to take through very rugged terrain. However, if I can hold on to my tensioners, it makes it a little bit better. I believe if that top flap that came up over the top of my cache box is just too short, if I could put extender straps on there, that would probably help hold it in position. However, I don't want to walk through the woods like this. I want to be able to use my trekking poles and be able to climb over things and stuff like that. This is not going to work well. Just by nature of this shifting and not being able to do anything whatsoever with my load adjustment straps, I don't see a point in going through my little course of obstacles, because what's going to happen? I'm climbing over a log, I'm climbing up a hill, a steep embankment, things like that. I'm going to get some serious weight shifting back and forth. So as far as the cache box goes, I say this pack fails. By far, this is going to be the heaviest load that I'm going to be carrying. I don't even think that the firewood that I'm going to be packing in this is going to equal the weight of these two ammo cans, 32 pounds. Now the bottom two buckles are going to be absolutely pointless with this. So I'm going to go ahead and buckle those up, and I'll be using one of the extender straps in the center. I'm going to put one down here, and we're probably going to have the same problem that we had before with the height. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to utilize that top flap cover. Let's try putting it on. Here goes nothing. Like I said, by far, wow, this is heavy. Okay, get my brush strap here. And load adjustment. actually, this feels much better than that large cash box. I think it has everything to do with the ability to use the buckles on that top flap. It does shift a small amount. I don't really know if trying to tighten this down any further would help that much or not, but I feel fairly confident that I could travel a decent distance with this as it is. Yeah, I feel pretty good with this. So I think right now the trick is, even if you have a large amount of weight, it needs to be narrow, it needs to be close to the body, and it needs to be to the proper width that is just about the same width as the back panel of this pack. Let's take it for a little test drive. Well, that was a quarter mile, and it's some fairly varying terrain. A lot of divots, a lot of deadfall, some steep embankments, some hills. I'm just very thankful that the hills aren't very tall. It's the pack seems to be doing great, doing a lot better than I am physically. Still got the bum knee, and it's just about, it's supposed to be 90 today, so it's got to be in the low to mid 80s right now. It's very humid. At the risk of jeopardizing the validity of the field trials, what I'm going to do, considering that this is completely the heaviest pack that I'll be packing through here. I think it's a grand total, this is 32 pounds of weight, 20-pound pack, so 52 pounds of weight. That's definitely the heaviest load I'll be carrying. All I'm going to do for the remainder of the video is I'm just going to go ahead and load up the packs, do my shift test with it, things like that, so you can see that. And I'm not going to be risking further injury to my knee by taking this half-mile course. I'm going to go ahead and trek on back, and same route I came. And when we get up to the initial point, which is close to my Jeep, we'll go ahead, get this load off, and try the others. We have 3 more to go. We have my camera equipment box, we have my dry bag camp, and we have firewood. I wish I was doing as well as the pack. Mobility and pain. Oh, it's a weird combo. This portion of the field trial, I think that what I need to do as far as the load goes is to look at the straps and see if there's any way that I can cinch them down even further, possibly replacing the slide buckles with ladder locks. I think I could definitely get that tighter and it would hold in position, because I can tell that it's loosened up a little bit since I first had it out, but it's still nothing compared to that huge cache box. The idea that I could put the top flap over and buckle that has really added a lot to this, and it's very, very functional. The balance is great while I was climbing over logs, stepping into uneven terrain, stepping back out of it, going down steep hills, coming back up. The pack rode very well and it's very comfortable. One thing I was thinking about while I was carrying this, if you remember the photographs that I shared of the actual I.E.D jammer that was normally carried in this, it had a very similar shape to these .30 caliber ammo cans. Most certainly not the same weight, but who knows? I have no idea how much those batteries weigh and how many batteries they carried. Who knows? It could have been exactly the same amount of weight. The shape of your load, I think, will have everything to do with the stability of the pack as far as it being shifting and things like that. I'm suspecting, and we'll find out here in just a few minutes, that my other loads, being that they're much bulkier, different shapes, things like that, especially when we get to the firewood, they may have the same issue going on as that large cache box. But right now, I'm very confident with this type of a load. This can actually carry more weight. I could definitely carry more weight with this. If I didn't have the bum knee, no problem. I could probably carry twice the amount of weight that's on this total. I don't know how well the pack would do with the addition of 10 more pounds, let alone an addition of 30 more pounds. But I know right now, with the 32 pounds that is in this, it's riding very well and it's very comfortable. Well, let's try out the camera box. This setup's going to be very straightforward. I used it as an example in my other videos, so it's not going to be that big of a deal as far as showing you how it fits, how it doesn't fit. Anything else is just the idea of trying all different loads in this. And also, for those folks that did not see the other videos, how dare you? This is something you may not have seen. We'll just go ahead and call this the cameraman's load, or the photographer's load. This is very lightweight. It almost feels like there's nothing in it compared to that last load, I tell you. I'll be perfectly honest with you, there were a couple of the little bits of terrain that I traversed with my little obstacle course that had the pack not held steady with that amount of weight in there. It could have been bad news for my knee. There were a couple of things to where when I was bending over a log, and when I went over, I could feel the weight of the pack go, and had that shifted rapidly, I could have went right down with it, just simply because my knee's so weak. Now, this is the photographer's load. The photographer's load. A little shake. And it does, yeah, it shifts. However, with this amount of weight in it, it's not an issue. Just the thickness or the depth of the container has everything to do with the stability of the pack. With the 230 caliber ammo cans, they were very close to the frame, the hardboard that's in there, strapping it down. It didn't shift nearly this much. The further away from the actual back panel, the further away that the outside of your load is, the more of that shifting you get. This right here, I have no problem whatsoever going through any type of terrain. It's going to shift a little bit, no big deal. It's a really light amount of weight. Like again, for photography, this would be a great little pack, especially if you could find it cheaper than a lot of people are doing. But I'm not trying to justify the pack or the purchase. I purchased it on the whim. I wanted to see what I could do with it. And as you already see, failed sometimes, succeeded sometimes. And by the time I get finished with the next two field trials or the load tests, that's going to be the success or failure of this pack for anything other than at least the one thing we know it was successful for. And this one, you know, that's up to you if you think it's successful, because it does shift a little bit. The small amount of weight I'll be carrying, I can live with it. Let's go ahead and try out the other two. Before I demo my camp loadout and the two dry bags, I want to talk a little bit about the dry bags themselves. This was never intended to be a dry bag. This is actually an old Army surplus chemical protection suit bag. On the back portion of it, you can see that there's a little panel here for you to put an information card in. I don't know exactly what that was for. Usually you put stuff like that on there to put an identifier in there. This way I put a name card in there, and that's what it would be used for. There are Alice areas, Alice clip loops in here for you to be able to attach this to a belt. You can also attach it with the hooks from the LBE harness to be able to be worn just like a butt pack or a fanny pack. The way it works is just like any other dry bag. It has Velcro at the top. You have your load in there. You roll it around just like you do any other dry bag. Roll top dry bag. And then there are buckles on webbing for you to be able to buckle in, pull tight. And that's what it is. Now, what I did with one of them, actually I've done it with two. I've misplaced one. Imagine that. This is the same pack. However, I removed all of the unnecessary items that add weight. You know, it's just, they're pointless to have on this as you're using it as a dry bag. The last time I looked online, you could pick these things up from anywhere between $7 to $14 a piece in varying conditions. You can still find them new, unissued, at a very affordable price. These are fairly large. Put that right beside my head so you can see it. It's large, and it's not to its full capacity. It does have a water-treated or a waterproofing on the interior. I'm not going to say that it's waterproof, but it's definitely water resistant. That's on the interior. On the exterior, you can always spray waterproofing on there, silicone, whatever. Kiwi makes it. There's all kinds of other manufacturers that make waterproofing spray. You can also get a liquid form, fill this thing up maxed out, stretch it out, and brush it on. And between the interior water resistance, the exterior water resistance, again, nothing's ever really truly waterproof when it's like this, but it can be as close to waterproof as anything like this could be. Let's go ahead and try putting it in the Thor III. Got my camp fitted dry bags, got the Thor III. Already I can see that this is going to be another floppy load, because one of the dry bags is essentially the same size as the main bag compartment of the Thor III. We're going to give it a shot. I'm just going to simply stack these one on top of each other and sandwich them between the back panel and the main pack panel. I can already see that the top part of the pack, by not being able to buckle that top flap, is going to be an issue. Let's go ahead and try putting it on. Now the weight itself isn't bad. Putting it on. That weight being away from my body really is an issue, even with putting it on. And load adjustment. Oh yeah, this is absolutely horrible. Horrible, I tell ya. Fail. Now I'm ready to try our last load, which is firewood. It would be a whole lot easier if I were to pre-bundle this with some 550 cord. But what I want to do instead is I'm just going to attach the top two buckles and sort of slide the firewood into it. And once I have that loaded, and then I'm going to cinch down all the rest of the straps. My gut instinct tells me that this will do exactly what the last load did, and that would be that it's going to position all the firewood too far away from my back, and it's going to wobble all over the place. That may or may not be an issue. Firewood's a little bit different. You're going to go close to your camp, collect the firewood you need, and then go back. Nice thing about this is you could double the load of firewood you're carrying, because you could have one load on your back, one load in your arms. Or if your water source is right beside where you're gathering your wood, you can have two hands free to carry the water while you have all the firewood on your back. Let's see how it goes. This looks absolutely awful. Let's go ahead and put it on and see how it feels. As pointless as this may seem, I'm going to give it a try. The weight itself isn't bad. Let me get those load adjustment straps back out. This actually is going on much better than my camp load. And load adjustable straps. This is a little wobbly, but it feels a lot better than my pack load felt. Well, let's see the wobble. Now, as far as I'm concerned, considering how you're going to be transporting your firewood fairly short distances back to your camp, as in maybe a couple hundred yards max. If you're camped that far, if you're camped further than 200 yards away from firewood, you're camped in a wrong spot. But I could see normally where I camp, I'm very blessed for having the woodland that I have available to me to camp in. I'm looking at maybe 25-30 yards for initial firewood for the first few days. Then it expands out from that. So if I'm looking at 50 yards away from camp to get firewood, it's time for me to move camp. And this actually feels very good. And you saw the amount of wood I put in there. That amount of wood would be good for 3 small cooking fires, just fast and furious cooking. Then each one of them would make a decent enough bed of coals for if you're using a very small cook pot, small fry pan, things like that. It would be 3 easy meal cooks. And but if you don't want that, if you just want to have ambiance, if you want a campfire just for the glow of the flames and the prettiness of the flames, this right here, I mean, it would last you upside down fire might last you an hour and a half, 2 hours. But if you are just setting this up for a campfire, looking about 45 minutes before it's burned down where you'd have to add more. So a load like this, which is very comfortable right now, you're looking at about 3 of these loads for an evening, depending on the time of year. If you start just about the time you see the sun setting on the treetops, you're good for probably 2, maybe 3 restokes of this. If you had 3 of these loads, that'd be enough for a decent fire in the evening, and then you'd have another load to where you could do a decent fire in the morning for breakfast. Now, I know I've had a lot of build up to this day as far as the introduction of the Thor III pack. I was excited with the purchase. I was excited about the prospect of the potential of the pack as a load pack. Then I had another video on making all the accessory parts you need to modify it to be a load pack. This video is the field trials. I'm trying all those different things out. Let's look at them one by one. First one was the cash box. Epic fail. I would not want to trek that in to my secret fun spot to hide that. I would not want to do that. The weight wasn't the issue. It was the wobbliness. If you understand balance and the use of weight distribution and things like that, you can use leverage to accomplish many things. However, when you have leverage, balance, and those things working against you, those leverages working against you, it doesn't take a lot of weight to do a lot of harm or be a lot of an issue. The terrain that I go to through my secret fun spot is varied, and at points it's extreme. There is no way that I would take the risk traveling that far of a distance, especially considering that you know, I'm a good ways away from my vehicle in an area that no one other than 2 people I know have ever been in, to cross over a log, try to climb down a rock crevasse, to get down to another trail, things like that, and it shift just enough for me to lose my balance and take a tumble. It's not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. The ammo cans. 2 .30 caliber ammo cans, 32 pounds of weight. Beautiful. It worked fantastic. A little bit of a shift, definitely not an issue because it's so close to my body. Was not an issue, so that succeeded. My camera box. I would consider that a success simply because it's such a light amount of weight. You're not worried about the shifting that did occur. I mean, it wobbled back and forth, but the thing is, it's such an insignificant amount of weight. But the thing that's really nice about that is you can transport camera equipment into an area. Your hands are free. You can get to where you're going and have a very well protected camera ready for you to be able to use with all the spare accessories that you need, and you have your hand free for trekking poles, things like that. And the weight of everything, you can take the pack off, put it back on, no issues whatsoever, and you have everything you need for a day trip that you can stow in the main pack compartments. My camp and the dry bags, epic fail, epic fail. Backpacks are designed to transport your pack. Pack frame, a dedicated pack frame would probably do it. This makeshift thing, this idea of the potential of a pack frame, no, it did not work. Firewood, I would say that would be a good success. So we're looking at, you know, 3 out of 5 trials, and we had 1 absolute success, another one moderate success, and I would consider the Firewood being a moderate to a little bit higher than that success. So we're probably looking, you know, I'm no good at math, but we're probably looking at about a 70 percentile of success with this, which if I were to buy this being advertised as a pack frame, I would consider that's unacceptable. 70% is absolutely unacceptable. However, now that I know what I can use this for, and if I want to use this pack for those purposes, I know it's going to work well for me. Was it worth it? Monetarily, probably not. But as far as the fun of going through, first of all, the anticipation, the prospects, the planning, and then the execution of making everything, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Even if it wasn't the success I wanted it to be, I enjoyed it. And for me, it was worth it. For you, if you watched all 3 of these things, you know right now that this is probably not the pack that you want to use unless you want to use it as a dedicated camera, box transport, firewood for day trips, things like that, and for transporting very narrow, very you know, short in width, you know, not too high to where that top flap will fit over, you know, large weights. I don't know exactly what that would be, to be perfectly honest with you. But as far as recommending this pack as a dedicated load hauler, I would say absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if by any chance you purchased one in hopes of doing the same things with it that I had hoped to do, I apologize for that. This whole series of videos was a work in progress, and I'm glad I went through it for me. I know that there are 3 things that I can use this pack for now, and I will probably use this pack for those things now. But I would not recommend that anyone purchase this pack for the purposes that I purchased it for. If you have other purposes that you could use this pack for, you have your own ideas, your own schemes, It is very, very well made. It's a Mystery Ranch pack. Super durable. Everything on it works to perfection for what it was designed to work for. I cannot fault the pack for anything. I can fault my own faulty thinking for daydreaming and expectations that may or may not have been realistic. However, this pack for my purposes, 70%. I wouldn't recommend buying it unless you yourself have one of those 3 successes in mind to utilize this pack for. Do not spend a lot of money on this. Don't spend it. If you can get one for about $100 bucks or so, it might be worth it for you. But I would not spend the amount of money that I spent on it, which I got at far less than the advertised surplus prices that are out there. It doesn't matter that it's brand new. What matters is that you are spending money on something that is going to do what you purchased it to do. And if you can find a purpose for it, fantastic. Well, that's it, folks. What y'all been waiting for. And I wish it could have been more successful. 70% was the best that we could muster. And that was probably pushing it. Folks, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you next time.